Today's horoscope from Astrocademy, Sagittarius December 3, 2022. With today's Mercury-Neptune square, it may be best to avoid doing things you usually wouldn't do, particularly if they involve deception or taking significant shortcuts. Actively imaginative days can be helpful, but there are times when your imagination doesn't serve you well. It's a good time to open your mind to new possibilities, as long as you keep in mind that there's a strong tendency to mix up fantasy and reality. Fortunately, a Venus-Saturn transit is also in play, especially as the day advances, and realistic expectations help smooth out your mood. Comfort comes from learning the truth about a matter or arriving at a more realistic perspective. Knowing the rules helps you plan. Accepting things for what they are and appreciating them as they are, not as you wish they would be, is the key. You might get a real sense of how you can better use your resources. The cosmic weather is telling you to be very careful at this time. Logical Mercury, our cosmic messenger planet that rules your mind and communication, is creeping through the shadows of your solar 12th house and will clash with a rather intoxicated Neptune in the sky. Secrets, hidden enemies, and anxiety could all be amuck. Deception, drama, and confusion could riddle your day like thorns. Something you've done or said may now be coming back to bite you. The best thing to do is to lie low, rest, and not get tempted into any scandals. Work on your communication skills today. You may find that conversations with colleagues are not as clear as they could be when Mercury in Sagittarius squares Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Mercury's influence is hitting your subconscious mind with an abundance of thoughts, opinions, and ideas. However, the square may indicate that some of your points are not translating as intended or anticipated. You may also feel like the tone, turf, and timing is not what it should be at work for an open conversation. Practice patience and wait for the right time to speak up. A friendly aspect between Mars on the job and Saturn on the income front that had been building all week peaked yesterday, and while separating, this still fueling a sense of resolve on both fronts. This comes just as pressure on Mars has put how well you know when to keep your work hat on and when to take it off to the test, with a clearer sense of where the money helping you to work smarter. You have the determination and persistence to succeed in whatever you take on. Don't allow your inner fears to dominate. Today's planetary configuration asks you to look at your needs and to assess whether they are respected in the schedule you keep. Do you have healthy food in your fridge and cupboards? Are you able to consistently exercise and get a good night's sleep? Your health needs dictate the daily schedule you should follow. There'll be no stopping you today. There is great power when it comes to innovative thinking and initiating projects. If there were things you struggled with at work, or even at home recently, pull them out and have another look. Chances are you'll be able to find solutions that previously eluded you. Start this new month off by wrapping these sorts of things up using the ingenuity of an 11. If there's anything new that cries out to be started, don't hesitate to tackle it. The moon's monthly visits to your communication sector are key to keeping the communication lines open, for no matter how much planetary support you have, this can make it easier to give your emotional responses a voice. It is during the moon's final hours here that an alignment with Jupiter for the last time before he leaves is a chance to move things forward, while with Neptune in his final days in retrograde motion, there is a chance to give the past and unsaid words a voice. After what recent eclipses have stirred up, it is your relationships that can benefit from this. This is not the moon's last visit to your communication sector for the year, but it is the last before Jupiter leaves and the last while Neptune is in retrograde motion. With no planetary activity in your relationship sector, it is all about having the communication lines open, with the moon working with planets that can not only move things forward but give the past and unsaid words a voice. Our eyes in the sky. This could be a strenuous day. Be mindful of releasing any tension you might pick up by focusing on your breath and relaxing your shoulders. Problems might appear larger than they actually are at first, so keep a level head if you experience any bumps in the road. Try to understand that you're the victim of projection by others, and don't take their harsh words to heart. The moon in Pisces squares Mercury in Sagittarius, giving you a chance to speak up. In an effort for you to stay focused on your work, you are likely to get misinformation that may throw you off track. If something sounds suspicious, feel free to take the time to double-check it instead of hastily moving on without question. Remember that it's okay to go off script if it helps your emotional state to deviate from your usual routine. Ultimately, the main message is to not be overly critical of or hard on yourself or others. The details you neglected on a recent project are catching up to you and backfiring. You may need to readjust your position today in order to get back on track with the correct procedure. Admit your mistakes instead of covering them up and move on. Dealing with financial matters in a totally relaxed way, others may be stressed and fearful, but you cope with the situation in a straightforward and calm manner. You are courageous enough to act at the right moment and to make profits. Don't overdo it, because pride comes before a fall, and you would ruin all you achieved. Your encounters run smoothly and amicably, like a peaceful flowing river. Family and friends would love to ride this wave with you. You now have the opportunity to resolve old conflicts and hurts and to move forward united. If you are smart about it, you will strengthen ties to your loved ones. Tonight brings a nice, cozy vibe, so plan to stay in for the evening. You'll likely need to recharge after the day is done. After midnight, the Pisces moon squares off with retrograde Mars in Gemini, prompting us to make irrational choices. We believe we are judging a situation accurately, when in truth, we're extra sensitive to small and even imagined slights. This causes us to respond to fictional threats in largely unconscious ways. The assumption that we must defend ourselves through speech may be premature. Keep this in mind before acting or reacting. Work conversations today may be completely over your head. Don't pretend that you know what is going on if you do not. It is better to ask questions than to make believe that you understand when that is not necessarily the case. According to plan, work commitments are easily dealt with, leaving you time to devote to things you're interested in or find more important. Your warm-hearted way of dealing with people you care for assures you the satisfaction and contentment you require, which you get from the affectionate response received in return. In the late afternoon, Mercury in Sagittarius squares off with Neptune in Pisces, exacerbating the day's erratic energy. This is a transit of poor judgment calls. Contractual affairs should be avoided outright. There are likely to be loopholes or vague verbiage that cause us to think we're agreeing to one thing when we are signing on to something quite different. Yet, while we are perhaps more susceptible to manipulation tactics now, given both planets squaring in optimistic, Jupiter-ruled signs, the real enemy is our tendency towards self-deception. We want to believe. The desire to have our biases confirmed places us in a vulnerable position.